So, TRibecast episode 2. Thanks for coming back. Last time was the anniversary of me starting at Team Rubicon, so it was me reflecting on the year. So we thought the next natural guest would be ground zero Team Rubicon, and that's David Wiseman. You know, one of our original volunteers, helped set Team Rubicon up, bring it to the UK, and is now one of our trustees. So he's been on this full journey throughout, and it's great to have him here. Wisey, thanks for coming on and giving us your time.
Yeah, no.
It would be great just for me to shut up for a bit and hear you talk about the beginning and why you were attracted to what this could be, how you and General Nick came about, and what you've been involved in since then.
Okay. I mean, it was a while ago, so
and my memory's not so great.
Yeah, exactly. So let me do my best to give you a little bit of background. I work for the Royal Foundation, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and I look after all their programs to do with supporting those who serve. And way back when, in 2013, we had this crazy idea to run an international sporting competition based on the US Warrior Games. We called it the Invictus Games, and it was at the Olympic Stadium in 2014. Fantastic, big. I'm sure people have noticed it. But I was part of the executive team that helped pull that off. But above the executive team, we had a board, an amazing board. And on that board was General Sir Nick.
The incredible General Sir Nick.
The incredible
Such
General
a
Sir
wonderful
Nick.
guy.
Yeah, indeed. And we at Team Rubicon are really, really lucky to have him and his leadership and his vision. And it was that leadership and vision that sort of that sparked this off. So I remember Nick and I were at the Olympic Stadium, and I think we were doing sort of our final sort of walk around and have a look at that. And he started talking about this organisation that I'd never heard of before. Might have seen it on Twitter or something like that, but didn't really know about it. Called Team Rubicon over in the US. And you know how generals are all mates with each other, aren't they? I mean, that's just a natural thing. So he's got this mate, Dave Petraeus.
Yeah.
Who, you know, you
Just
might have
his
heard of him.
Yeah.
You know, my mate Dave. Everyone's got a mate called Dave. It just so happens that Nick's is Dave Petraeus. And he said, yeah, well, Dave Petraeus over in the States, he's on the board of this thing called Team Rubicon. He's asking if we'd like to set it up over here in the UK. And what do you think? I was like, yeah, sounds like a fantastic idea. So I guess we were making notes and, you know, writing on the back of a fag packet and using a Rizzler for an annex and all that sort of business. And we sort of had half a plan. We had a lot of intention and half a plan, and then all of a sudden there's a huge earthquake in Nepal. So, you know, I don't know what the exact quote is, but it's half a plan now is better than a perfect plan tomorrow.
Later, yeah.
You know, it's so we went off with our half a plan, and we joined the Americans out in Nepal. They'd already deployed, and we started getting involved over there. It's really worth. I'd like to sort of mention Tim Edwards. At this point, you know, TR Tim. I mean, you cut that bloke and he bleeds TR.
Yeah, I love that.
And he was really instrumental in this early stage as well. And he actually led the UK team on that
and
first.
He'd
stop.
been out to the Philippines with the US prior, hadn't he?
That's
he went and
it.
volunteered as a US.
Yeah,
So self-deployed himself out there.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, he. I mean, before we started filming, we were laughing and joking about how indoctrinated we were. And we've only, you know, we're sprogs. We've only done like 8 years apiece or something.
He spent longer in the NAFI queue.
He did, mate. Yeah. He spent more time on ops than we spent in the entire military. You know, I think he did a full 22, maybe 24 years or something if he venged it up. Got on the Wenger bus, and so he was proper indoctrinated. I don't think you mind me saying he was proper indoctrinated, but a gunner though, I think.
Gunner or something.
I know, dodgy.
Rands in the air, where do you want it?
Yeah. and he won't mind me saying this because he said it publicly himself, that he when he left the military, he was a bit of a lost puppy. You know, he was like, well, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
And he'd seen about TR and got in touch with them about their Philippines operation and deployment, and basically just volunteered himself up as a Brit. And they'd not had a Brit deploy with them before, and they were like, yeah, come along, join us in the Philippines. And he did, and I think that was one of those early gems, you know, on the top sphere between the generals, and obviously on the bottom with the Greyshirts, you know. So I think they met in the middle, and that's how TR UK was born. But that first operation was a real eye opener. I mean, we you know, Tim and I were at the airport, and we didn't really know what we were letting ourselves in for. Yeah. You know, I had you know, Civvy Bergen and grips and all this sort of business, just full of, you know, stuff that I didn't even know if we'd need or not. I think we landed on in Kathmandu a day or two after the earthquake. We didn't know what we'd find. You know, would there be dead bodies in the streets? Would there be, you know, carnage? Would there be, you know, would we be required to do sort of like hands-on first aid? We just didn't know. And yeah, we spent 2 weeks on that first deployment, and it was incredibly interesting, and everything that I'd thought about what TR would be, it was, in that it was that foot back into a camp that I had missed from my own time in service, a short time in service, you know, you know, a couple of tours to Iraq to Afghanistan, but that kind of military mindset, using that bit of the brain that I hadn't used for a long time, and that understanding that the decisions that we make on the ground are made probably with not a lot of information, probably with high consequence, definitely in a dynamic situation, and that have real time and immediate impacts on real people and their lives. You know, are we going to give this person some food? Are we going to give that person some medical attention? Are we going to tab up to that village and see what's there and with these medical supplies? These were sort of, you know, real time decisions that needed to be made that had real time impacts on real people, and that was really fulfilling, and did connect to that role that we all had played as soldiers. But yeah, that was a very interesting time in Nepal. We did a bit of aid distribution, but I think one of my standout moments in my own memory was just getting packs on our backs and going from village to village and just carrying medical supplies. So essentially, I deployed on that as a donkey. You know, I mean, I was an infantryman. So
it's all qualified.
I was really qualified for it. So yeah, we took a load of doctors and medics who are less qualified to carry big and heavy kit. You know, they've got other qualifications.
They're the cerebral part of the operation.
yeah. So
we'll just carry the stuff.
Yeah, we'll carry it. And when we get there, you do your doctor stuff. And that's what we were doing. We're going from village to village and you know, administrative and offering medical assistance. What we found actually was the real serious injuries, you know, as you know, but we didn't know at the time, as we've learned, is, you know, in a disaster like that, actually, if people are really banged up, they'll die.
Yeah.
They'll die within the first 24 hours, 48 hours. So if you're arriving days after that, actually, a lot of what you're treating are at the lower end of the injury spectrum, but things that could get really bad.
Yeah, infection,
or you know, long-term illness and all that sort of business. So still very, very important. Yeah. And God knows how many tetanus shots. I think we ran out of tetanus vials in that time, and I hope that did did a lot of good. Came back from Nepal, really buzzing about TR. I'm just going, wow, this is a real force for good. If it's making me feel like this, it's really going to make others feel the same. And then just a series of weird situations came about. So I went on a weekend away with a couple of old army muckers. It was one of their 40th birthdays. We went and stayed in up in the Lake District, and it was great. We stayed at this guest house, went for some walks, etc., etc. Came home. Week later, that town's on the news, and it's under Lake.
Oh, Tadcaster.
No, this is in Cumbria.
Oh, Cumbria, sorry.
This is the Wordsworth.
Yeah.
So town's underwater, river's broken banks, and there's the guy who ran the guest house on the TV giving an interview. Turns out he was also the mayor, the guest house we were staying at. So I'm like, they look like they're in bother. So I picked up the phone to the guest house and said, oh, hello mate, yeah, we stayed with you last weekend. See you're in a bit of bother. He's like, yeah. So it's like, would you like a disaster relief organisation?
I've got a team.
And he was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So then I put down the phone to the mayor, I pick up the phone to General Nick, and I'm like, how about it? And he's like, let's do it. So we launched into Wordsworth, and that was fantastic. And we were doing all sorts of jobs around the town, sort of clearing up all the muck that comes with flooding. We were clearing out culverts so that with the heavy rain that was following, the rain would follow, all those sorts of business. And I remember a standout moment from that was, we were walking down the road one morning, still in honking kit from the day before, but everyone's happy. It's drizzling and cold and minging and all that sort of business. And there's a busload of Pakistani gentlemen coming off this bus and just coming up the high street. The last thing that you'd expect to see in the middle of the Cumbrian hills. And they walked straight up to us and were like, "You all right, guys? We're here to help." And we're like, "Mega!" And I was like, "Brilliant! Do you know the right end of a shovel and the right end of a broom?" It was like, "Yeah, right. You'll do for me." So just that picture in my head of real diversity, just that human spirit of everyone just, we're just here to help. What can we do? Yeah. And everyone mucking in. And that brought it to me as well then, that TR in these circumstances can be that real hub. They came straight to us. And just because we had such a presence on the ground, all in that uniform, all looking the part, all doing the part, all professional, all right, well, these are the guys we need to speak to. And do you know what? The same thing happened again that winter. Again, I'm like, don't sit near me on an aircraft. I'm like, bad luck. In my hometown, it was it Christmas Eve? Was it Boxing Day? Boxing Day, I think. Or it might even been Christmas Day. I don't know. The river was getting really high in Tadcaster, which is where I'm from, up in North Yorkshire. Really high, and it does flood every now and again. But it was, and the reports for more and more weather coming in, and I popped down. I think it would have been Boxing Day, and the river was getting so high, and I scrabbled around the town. I can't remember where I found them, but I found like some sandbags and someone with a truck to come and drop them off at the riverbank. And there's this bit where like the bank goes in and under and like this and creates like a natural sort of hollow. And I was like, right, there's the place I'm going to put the sandbag wall. And I had maybe 50 to 100 sandbags. So I'm like, right, I'll sort this. So
the worst vigilante ever.
Yeah, there I am, like chucking these sandbags into this little divot, thinking, that'll
save
sort
the world.
it. Anyway, river busts its banks, and my wall probably saved the town for maybe
at best
0.001 of a second as the force of the river.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, mate. I don't know what, but that must have allowed something to get out, like a blue bottle or something. But smashed it, flooded the town. I'm like, oh, geez, this is bad news. So I'm standing there. This will have been late Boxing Day or the day after the 27th. Yeah, it was definitely Boxing Day actually. And I'm standing there in my wellies, looking around, and I'm standing with the MP Nigel Adams, and someone from the Flood Action Group comes over. He says, "Oh, you're Luke's dad from school." And I was like, yeah. And I was like, "You did that thing, the Invictus Games." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was part of that." And he was like, "Well, you organised that, you can organise this as well." And I was like, "Oh, right." So again, I turned to the MP, I turned to Nigel Adams and went, "Do you want a disaster relief organisation?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think we need one." Again, pick up the phone.
Perfect.
"Nick, what do you reckon, mate?" It's like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah.
So called in the cavalry. Next day, town meeting, town hall, and Nigel Adams gives me a shove. I was like, "Come on, you gonna speak? What we're gonna do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'll think about it on my way to the stage, shall I?" So I've got the whole bloody town, and going, "Right, well, what are we going to do?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, here we go. This is what we're going to do." And it just came out. It's like, if you've been a commander in some point in the British Army, you've always been stiffed at some point to, right,
On the spot.
you're on the spot, you're going to give a set of orders and it better be good. Come up with a plan. All right, this is it. And you do. And we set up an ops room. We took over one of the council buildings. We set up an ops room. We said, right, come in. Let us know where. If your property's been affected, how it's been affected. Actions on flooding. Don't operate the electrics. Don't operate the gas. We need. If you are a gas engineer, electrical engineer, put up your hand. Come to the front. Let us know. Help us clear the buildings. All this sort of business. And you go, yeah, that just kind of makes sense. But it just needs that one person. And it doesn't matter who it is, but it often helps if you're wearing some sort of uniform. To say it, and then everyone goes, right, let's do it. And again, I think that's what TR brings to the party.
And this is the military approach, and it's really interesting hearing the beginning, the acorn that grew from. Because at the moment, whilst we might have now this polished capability set, and we know what we're going to take into disaster zones, and where it might be in more complicated spaces. The crux of what we do is exactly what you're just describing there. We're taking this military approach, bringing order into the chaos, that outcome, ruthless focus on mission, and then just people that are willing to do it, to carry stuff to places that otherwise wouldn't get to. So for all of the fancy equipment that we have now and the polished capability plans and the maturity that's come of the 3 years of growth since then, the crux of this place is still the same. And it's the blood, the sweat, and the willingness of our human asset, which is predominantly from the British military, which is what makes this place so strong and unique.
Yeah,
and that hasn't changed from your first day.
Serve.
Yeah,
that desire to serve. I don't think when you hang up the uniform for your last time, that can be a really sad day. Certainly a sad day for me.
Yeah.
But that desire to have an impact, a positive impact, be a force for good, whatever you want to call it, that hasn't gone. I didn't hang that up with my uniform.
No.
And this is what I love about Team Rubicon, is it gives people who have that strong urge. It doesn't mean you've had to have a military background.
No.
It just so happens that a lot of people who have that urge do go down that route, or become policemen, or become firemen, or become nurses, or become something where there is an element of service and belonging to something greater than yourself. As long as you've got that ethos, you're welcome at Team Rubicon, and you'll be a valuable asset.
Yeah, and what links us all is that service is in the DNA, and whether we know it or not at 19, 20, when we make these career choices, be it all of those that you just highlighted, there is something in us, there's this desire, be it the belonging, and that's what links our Greyshirts together, that they still want that, because they say, whatever uniform you've hung up, or you might never have picked up the uniform, but you want to belong to this, this thing of ours. It's incredibly powerful. I love being around the volunteers. It's the best part of any week. The more time I spend with them, the better.
Yeah.
And it's interesting then, you've got a great backstory, which we haven't got time to go into, but I'd encourage any of you to go and listen to David Wiseman's podcast on Declassified, because he's been very humble, but he's a remarkable, remarkable guy. But what this organisation gives to people is also very powerful. We have great outcomes, across this map we're seeing, but there's this duality to what we do, which is incredibly powerful. And it'd be interesting to hear your take on, we were chatting off camera about looking behind the veil again and re-engaging that part of the brain, and what that did for you at that point, but how you've seen that grow through the organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that duality. I mean, in the early days as well. In the early days, going back then, I think we as an organisation struggled with the idea: are we a veterans organisation? Are we there as an organisation to support veterans through that through transition or creating that belonging, that network? Or are we a disaster relief organisation where actually we're mission focused and we're trying to be have an impact, a positive impact on disasters at home and abroad? And I think now we're sure of what we are. We are a disaster relief organisation, and we're delivering excellence where required at home and abroad. But we're not forgetting that DNA, and we're not forgetting the people that make up this amazing organisation should be valued and are incredibly valuable. They're what make us up, It's what makes up the
that is our unique selling point.
It really is. And the fact that social network, support network, professional network, whatever, it's all being part of that club, that part of being something bigger than yourself, just as we were talking before. And what it offers is those incredible individuals who join us, as you said there, that chance to look back and back through the veil and tap into those experiences which are extraordinary. People like you and me, we take it for granted when we sort of swing the lamp and spin dips. And you mentioned the Classified podcast, and I'd echo and urge everyone to listen to all those podcasts. And Rich has done a great one as well. But listen to them but try and listen to them without a military bias. If you are a veteran yourself, don't listen to it with a military bias. Try and listen to it with a fresh ear and go, actually, those stories aren't normal. They're just normal for us.
Yeah.
And what that means is we can use those extraordinary experiences and have a real impact on those that we serve in disaster, because we've just got experiences that most people don't have.
So Nick Spicer and I were out in Congo last week. Nick Spicer, another long-serving Greyshirt, in fact from the same sort of time, was on Nepal and those ops in the north of England with you. And the Democratic Republic of Congo is not a particularly permissive place. There's long-lasting conflict there, there's corruption, there's chronic suffering like I've never seen. And engaging that part of my brain in some way was cathartic again. It was great to be thinking about risk and being in armed convoys and having actions on with Nick. Right, if it goes wrong here on the map, I'm going to meet you here as quickly as I can. But the organisations we were working with were refreshed by our approach. We take our approach for granted, this sort of hard skill, mission focus, because our friends all served as well, so we think it's the norm. And we were with the World Bank and EU representative in country who had just had enough of people that wanted to do good but weren't willing or able to put themselves in the positions we needed to do the work. And he was so refreshed by our willingness, but also our understanding of risk, not just accepting it, because any fool can accept risk, but it's actually understanding how to work in risky situations. And the programme we'll develop in there is purely because of the background of the people we have and their ability and willingness to work in these places for the good of strangers, which is just remarkable.
I'll give you an example. When we were in Nepal on that first operation after the massive earthquake, and we were delivering food and medical supplies into Gorkha region, and there was, bless them, and I mean this completely, bless them, with no, I'm trying not to be patronising. There were some young guys who were out there on a gap year, and they had pulled together resources, they had pulled together what they'd had, and they were fantastic, and they wanted to help as well, and as I say, fantastic. Their heart was there. And they wanted to join our sort of mini convoy. I'm like, yeah, come join us. And after 2 or 3 days, they went back to Kathmandu. They just left us with the resources that they gathered and went, can you deliver them? And they couldn't cope with the uncertainty with, well, where are we going to sleep tonight? I don't know. Maybe just on the back of the truck, on the rice, or I don't know. We'll pull over when we get tired. And they're like, but where are we gonna eat? Well, I don't know. We'll
figure it out.
We'll figure it out as we go. Well, is it dangerous? Are there bandits? Are they? We'll be okay. And they had no experience of austere environments.
Well, that would have been their upper benchmark now.
Yeah.
So their benchmark for life, their perspective point now will be that experience in Gorkha, where the team you had with you, the perspective was high intensity conflict somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different viewpoint.
So I'm not knocking these guys.
Yeah.
They had great heart, they had great spirit, but as you say, their benchmark was just at a different place, and I think that means that our teams, TR teams, can operate in more austere conditions and as demanded in disaster situations.
And it's being effective in these conditions, because again, it's like any fool can be cold, but actually, can you operate in the Arctic and be effective? That's a skill set then. And actually operating in the austerity is a skill set, because you need to be able to sustain yourself and not become a victim. And coming back from Congo a couple of weeks ago, I was like, okay, well, I mean, organisationally we're ready for this, but let's see how the Greyshirt base responds, because it's a different operation to we've done before. And they always surprise me, and it's always a positive surprise, a bit like the Indonesian tsunami at Christmas Day. Like, will we get a team? We could have had 6 teams on Christmas Day. And straight away, Rick Walters, Shane Killaway, 2 legend Greyshirts, were like, whatever it is, boss, we're in.
Yeah.
Brilliant. They just want it. And
Paul sticks his head out of his van. What's going on? And we've got a turkey sandwich.
Did someone say or not? I smell disaster. And I just constantly, pleasantly surprised. I think this might not be able to fulfil this commitment. And the Greyshirts, they just come every time, and they're always outstanding. I feel like the luckiest guy around to be surrounded by these people.
Well, I came back from those ops, fantastic. We haven't touched on Prince Harry joining us out in Nepal, which was a highlight for
your
TR.
boss.
Indeed. So, he took time out of his own schedule. That wasn't part of his trip. That wasn't part of his royal engagement to Nepal. That was essentially his holiday time. He took time out of his own leave to come and give back and work in Lapibesi up in Nepal. And fantastic. Started on the school, and I've shown pictures of it now finished. He helped to install the solar suite on top of the school that then supplied the village with electricity, because the hydroelectric power was knocked out. We started to clear some of the channels for the hydroelectric, and we sort of recce'd what was required. TR went back the next year, and again shown in videos of that hydroelectric plant, which when we went there was just rocks. Now up and running and feeding, I think 3 valleys around the place. Amazing impact.
That was my first op with TR, was going back to Lapibesi last February, in fact almost this time last year. And I said on the last TRibecast, a life moment for me, affirming for me in this role, but just in life, was watching Suresh. He's not the village elder, he's the chap that went to Qatar, earned the money, brought it back to support that little village. Watching him turn that microhydro plant on after 3 years of graft, retunneling it, partnering with us, watching it, and watching the valley light up. That's changed me as a human being forever.
Amazing.
Just unbelievable. And to be there with Nick Spicer, who was there on the first with you, but it was the human touch that you're talking about. It was that the Team Rubicon to this human element in this tiny, remote village in the middle of nowhere.
That could be forgotten.
That no NGOs were going to, because there was no roads. Our teams, we'll walk it up. We'd love to walk it up. It's like the old days. It's looking back into what we used to be.
That's it.
A life moment for me, 100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But came back from those ops, No, I was a trustee at the time. Yeah, so I was invited by Nick to be a trustee of the organisation. It's been an honour to watch it grow. A lot of it under your leadership, mate. Yeah, it's been a real honour to have all these different sort of roles, from mud shoveler and rock clearer to giving briefs in Tadcaster and setting up ops rooms and all that sort of business to trustee as well, and seeing it from lots of different angles. And I'm telling you, from all angles, it looks great. I mean, we've spent a bit of time now looking at the past. What's coming up?
What's coming up? So we spent this last year, recocking it, getting it away from, is it veteran, is it disaster, into disaster. And response has always got to be our residential. That's what you guys created. That is where the skill set is so valuable. But they're not all the time. And, certainly when we look into like Central Africa, West Africa, Indonesia, there's a lot of suffering there. And we have this hard skill and we have this human asset to bring to bear. So we're looking to achieve 19 ops in the next financial year. Pre-planned work, capacity building in these places to try and build resilience before the disaster. These are going to be in fragile states. It's going to be hard to work. It's that austerity. It's those places where people aren't going at the minute that our people are so uniquely suited to. So really exciting period of work in there. We've got a lot of work to do in shaping that. These aren't easy countries to shape work, and then we've got to raise money against that. We will always be fighting with, raising enough money to deliver our ambitions. You and Nick set a high bar. We're all going to keep chasing this ambition. So funding that is vital. But we can never take our eye off the responsible. So it's about building the organisation of the next year in the way that we can get 2 ops out the door a month in capacity building work, but never ever let go of our commitment to respond where we're most needed on someone's darkest day. We've signed contracts now with the Caribbean as part of their disaster plan, so we can never let them down. And they're our outer territories, for the UK, so that's really key, vital ground for us. Nepal, we've just come back from. We've made promises there that we'll be there to support the Gurkha Welfare Trust. So we're an organisation of our word. So whilst we'll be very ambitious in the pre-planned capacity building work, we've always got to hold just enough to go. But there's no shortage of great people in the UK ready to join this. The British military is kicking thousands out a year that are all looking for this, what's next. They're not looking for it straight away always, but we're here for the long haul. So when they do want to look back in behind that veil, there's an organisation like us here. So that's where we're going this year. As the founding father, or one of the founding fathers, how does that sound to you?
It sounds brilliant, and I look at the board like this, and I'm really proud to see sort of red and green dots, all over the world, and it makes me very proud that we've started from real humble beginnings, and I'm really glad that we've had sort of key leaders like, as I say, like Nick Parker, and also key workers, like Tim or Nick or yourself along the way, who've really just, every person has just helped move it along, and I think we've got more growth to do.
Yeah, definitely. And what's always amazing for me about the global map and the dots is there's only 15 of us. There's 2,000 volunteers. That fluctuates. Reality is we've got 1,000 trained. At any one time, there's 50 really engaged, because everyone's got their lives to go to. So we're a very lean organisation that is punching across the world, and that's because of our volunteers. Because there's no way we could afford to do this if they were paid people.
No, and I think that's key to the model as well. Is for people to realise that when they're kind enough to donate to Team Rubicon, the vast majority of that goes to impacts on the ground. 15 members of staff. It's very, very lean.
Yeah, when we're trying to go east to west across the map.
Yeah.
Well, Wisey, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for starting this. Thanks for still being involved. Thanks for not firing me at any point. It's still really great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy. All right, thanks for listening. TRibecast episode 2. We're looking forward to the next one. Hopefully you're finding this either entertaining or compelling and you want to get involved. If you are, a like and a share, that's how this relationship works. If you're watching on YouTube, then please subscribe to the channel, because we want to keep these going, more and more and more great guests like Wisey, and more to come. So thanks again for listening. See you all next time.